All right, so here's the deal. Yale Law School is fighting back after the Trump administration has threatened the university with a sprawling investigation. But listen to this. They are not just fighting the investigation. They are fighting the university itself. There's a lot to this. So I want to start at the beginning. President Trump signed an executive order in January of 2025, which put all U.S. universities on notice. Essentially, it was a directive that claimed to target anti-Semitism on campus and launched investigations into 5 schools, which later widened to 60 different universities. But within weeks, federal agencies began to withhold billions of dollars in contracts and grants from several high-profile schools, pressuring them to align their policies with, who else? Donald Trump's. That resulted in some of the schools reaching settlements with the administration to avoid severe funding cuts. Check out how much they paid. Columbia University, $221 million. Northwestern, $75 million. Cornell, $60 million. Brown, $50 million bucks. And now it's Yale's turn. The Justice Department released a 6-page statement in May claiming that Yale discriminated against white and Asian students for admission to the medical school. That led to a deep-reaching investigation by the Justice Department into every corner of Yale. And now the university is looking to settle before the investigation has even finished. But you know what? The students and the faculty, they ain't having it. The dean of Yale Law School, students and alumni are fighting the university's jump to settle. They argue it will damage the school's reputation, it will compromise its independence, especially because the law school has not been accused of any wrongdoing. And we should note, a spokesperson for Yale University declined to comment to the New York Times on ongoing legal matters, but said the university stands in firm commitment to students' free expression, academic freedom, and Yale's ability to determine who is admitted in accordance with the law. I'm excited to have with me to discuss is Alex Chen, Yale Student Body President, and Daniel Hossain, Yale Professor and President of the American Association of University Professors. Thank you so much to both of you for being here. Alex, I want to start with you. Your reaction to this fight and talk to me about where you stand, where it stands today.
Yeah, I mean, I represent over 6,000 students, undergrads on campus, and I've spoken with more than 50 of them in the last week or so. And they're telling me the prevailing emotion they've given me is worry and fear that in settling with the DOJ, what Yale is trying to do is bargain away parts of its institutional autonomy in order to placate the federal government. And students are worried that it might be, student free speech, academic freedom, protections for international students and cultural institutions on campus that might be bargained away. And students are not ignorant to the fact that this is coming from, a long string, a pattern of, coercion from the federal government. We see our peers at Northwestern, at Columbia, where they've given up free speech rights, something as inane as, regulating where a poster can be on campus or giving student records, international student records to the federal government. I think students are right to be worried. And, President McInnis and the Yale administration can say however much they want that they're going to, stand firm. But the fact is that, they've given us no reason to believe that they're magically immune from this pattern. And what you're seeing, if I might add, Jacob, is that students are standing up in coalition with faculty, with alumni, with local, state and federal officials to stand up and say, this is our time to speak up and ensure that we would vehemently object to any settlement that, gives up even a ground of that to bargain away to the federal government.
Professor, this seems like just constant interference with higher education. How do you see what's happening?
Yeah, clearly part of a very, very long pattern. The last 2 years has been exhausting for us in higher education. I just want to also go back to this investigation because, on first blush, it might think like there was actually an investigation. It's actually not true. The Department of Justice generated these complaints against 15 different medical schools. The evidence, and we turned it to an outside law firm, paper thin, spurious, groundless. Yale, like all these law schools, updated their admissions policies after the 2023 decision. It would be very easy for any administration to just say, we stand by our students, we stand by our faculty, our practices. If you think otherwise, you can pursue a case. That's what UC Davis did. We were shocked to learn from the New York Times that our administration has made reportedly not 1, but 2 settlement offers. This has perilous damages. The last thing I want to say, these allegations have the odious whiff of Jim Crow. because they're suggesting that a portion of some of the most talented and hardworking students you will ever encounter who've worked their lives to get in here are somehow not deserving, not because of something they've done, but only on the basis of a racial classification. That's outrageous, and we are inspired by all of the people who are now standing against that.
I'm genuinely curious, Alex, what it's looking like on campus right now. Are other students discussing the deal? Are there active protests? Are people scared of retaliation? What are you seeing?
Yeah, well, it's summertime, so not many students are on campus, but we did have the privilege of going up and organizing some things around this. We've done phone banks. Students are worried about that. We've saw people from the class of 1970 to 2030 organize around calling President McInnes's office to reject the settlement deal. This past Friday, students organized a roundtable with Mayor Elicker and Senator Blumenthal to discuss, what this looks like and oppose the settlement. We had a press conference, and I would presume when students come back on campus in the fall, there will be a lot more noise around this. But students are definitely waking up to this. They're organizing around this from wherever they are this summer, and there's a unified response in rejecting a settlement.
Sometimes I feel like I just went to college, and then sometimes it's very clear that it's been 2 decades when I don't remember that it's a summer break right now. So I apologize to all the young people who probably are turning off the television right now that I wasn't thinking of them. Daniel, I do want to ask you that your work centers around, and you're a professor of ethnicity, race, and migration at the university. Do you have a response to the accusation that Yale is prioritizing certain races and ethnicities over others?
No, you talked, Jacob, earlier about allegations about non-citizen voting or the role of immigrants in detention, and we understand those as made-up political allegations. If you look at the evidence, even in the DOJ's own letter, it's almost non-existent. So I also serve on a graduate admissions committee. I've watched so carefully how carefully our university has adjusted the admissions practices and process to be fully and compliant with the law. So this is just a politically motivated attack. I'll also say this, it takes two to do the authoritarian tango, right? We're not surprised that they're looking for people to join them on the dance floor institutions, but no university should present itself and be on the dance floor now.
Well, Professor, what would your reaction be if Yale did what the University of Pennsylvania did, not to pay money, but to revise policies involving transgender athletes in that case, or University of Virginia? They have a policy review and a university president, stepped down. Yale hired, I think, the same law firm to handle their deal. Those are non-financial agreements. How would you receive that type of a result for Yale? Is no agreement the only outcome that you would like to see?
Yeah, Yale, like any other university, has to comply with the law as it does. But it should be the one, through a shared process of determining priorities around all of those issues. There's no reason for the federal government to advance allegations and then strong-arm any kind of institution into a backroom deal. So to that point, Jacob, it actually doesn't really matter what's in the deal. I'm sure on the inside, Yale is saying, look, what if we get a great deal? No money, nothing else, something small. That is not the point. There is a larger principle here. There are also 15 other medical schools that are watching exactly what Yale does, and if it will legitimate this clearly unlawful attack.
Alex, what do you want other students at other universities around the country to do in solidarity with students at Yale University? If they're watching you now and thinking, I don't want this to come to my college, to my university, what should they do?
I think they should be watching what we do very closely, and sending their support, and making sure that their own universities, should they receive an investigation like this from the federal government, are not so conciliatory in tone like Yale is. This is not even a letter of misconduct, it's a letter of findings, and we're already conciliated or already conceding so many things to the federal government. And I think students around the nation is in all of our best interests to ensure that our schools are autonomous, have the independence to do academic freedom, to study, to learn, to speak freely on campus, and so on. And I think our motto at Yale is light and truth, lux et veritas. What we're seeing is neither light nor truth, and I think that's very disappointing, and students around the nation should be concerned.
Yeah, what is happening there at Yale and at other universities across the country is terrifying, I think, quite frankly, for anybody that cares about the freedoms that we should all enjoy, particularly as it relates to our education. I have a lot of admiration for what both of you are doing. Alex Chen, student body president at Yale University, and Daniel Hosting, president of the American Association of University Professors at Yale. Thanks again for being here.